sorry about that. I know I said I would never, I said I would never, I would try not to carry thoughts from, good morning, it's March 7th, it's Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. This is part 2 of the AM Drive. I'm continuing a conversation I was having at the end of part 1 about a conversation I was having with a fellow at work, and he wanted to lose weight. I explained, I didn't explain all the diets I've been on in the past. I told him my recent experimentation with intermittent fasting, and that, I was already losing weight, but I lost weight faster when I added the intermittent fasting. Like, I was doing 2 days, eat a couple days, 1 day, and like I said, I don't remember how many days I did it before I got hit with gout, and then I stopped the fasting. I don't know why I stopped. I wasn't focusing on it. I was focusing on the extreme pain that I was in. So anyway, he said that he heard that fasting is not sustainable because you'll gain all the weight back. And I explained that, well, I haven't gained anything back yet. I'm not saying, again, each person is different. I don't know, some people might, have this kind of rebound cravings where they go crazy after they're done fasting. I've explained in another video the mistake I made when I fasted for a week, and then I ended my fast with a crazy heavy meal and made myself violently ill. But the thing is, anecdotal evidence, I'm one guy, I started doing it recently, I lost weight, I stopped doing it for weeks, and I'm still at that exact weight. 2, the concept of not sustainable, I don't know, after thinking about it, I guess it was bouncing around in my subconscious, and then this morning when I was thinking about it, that just sounds like marketing wank. That sounds like something someone would say to market their product, to say that intermittent fasting is non-sustainable. What do you mean it's not non-sustainable? You can do it whenever you want. You can absolutely do it. If you stop doing it, maybe the weight will come back because you're taking in more calories. But the point is, you could stop again. I think a proper mixture of exercise, intermittent fasting, proper diet, I don't see why it's not sustainable. I think these marketing places that are selling these powders and things like that, they're just doing this. They're saying things like, oh, it's non-sustainable, blah, 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 the weight will come back, it's a yo-yo thing. It's yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe if you're no longer doing the intermittent fasting, maybe the weight will come back. And I don't believe even the act of intermittent fasting is non-sustainable. I think that was actually a big part of human nature for years. Whether it had to do with environmental or religious factors, people do fast. So I think we're all brainwashed by big companies and their marketing departments. They prey on our weak minds, and they convince us of things that you really have to step back and think about everything that you're told. My aunt and uncle lived out in the woods, and they weren't crazy per se, but they were I want to say they were conspiracy nuts, but they were absolutely right about everything. And the world that you live in, if you stop, and it's hard because you're brainwashed and you live in it, but if you try really hard and you watch the news and you watch advertisements, you'll notice that the news isn't really the news. It's a marketing arm of politicians and large corporations. The stories all have file footage. They all run the same stories. They all are fed the same copy by AP or whoever, and there's a script that they all have to stick to, and there's always stories about medications, and it's the file footage that really gets me. The woman with the clipboard, the pills being counted into a tray. It's for decades. It's every time there's a medical story, there's the same bizarre file footage, and a lot of times you'll realize there's no real story there. They're just putting do you want to get in? Do you want to get in? They just want to say the name of the company. They want to get the name of the company into your head. And there's worse stuff, though. There's words that they use. that just they get you thinking a certain way, and you become brainwashed, and it's just terrible. It doesn't really matter. That phrase he threw out when he said it's not non-sustainable. It's like it's funny because when you hear it, the other thing is like, the thing is, they're not his words. He's parroting something else. Something has been shoehorned into his brain that all diets are bad. Fasting is bad, Primal is bad, Atkins is bad, like all these things, they're non-sustainable, you can't, blah, blah, blah. Like that's not him thinking that. He was told that, and he believes it, because you just, like some guy in a lab coat tells you something, you're just like going to believe it. Like, who knows if he's really a doctor? He just sounds really good on radio or TV. I want to ask him, like, what do you mean it's non-sustainable? Like, okay, you may gain the weight back if you stop fasting. Yes, if you eat more calories, you will probably gain weight. And then if you want to lose weight, you could fast again. And like I said, doing the 2-day, 1-day fast, I had no issue with it. Probably because I destroyed myself a while ago when I did that week-long fast. I think it was a week, it could have been longer, jeez. But people do it all the time. It's not necessarily unhealthy. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. Your situation may vary. There are inherent dangers in anything like that you do, especially if you have any kind of underlying illnesses, like the thing I had mentioned earlier that goes along with that. Forget the insulin thing. Diabetes, like if you have diabetes or anything like that, you don't really want to mess with your caloric and/or carbohydrate intake. But in general, what the? It's like 6 in the morning. Who the? Corby? Oops. Called out sick. That's not good. He needs to be in work today. The freaking government's coming in. Crap. I'm going to need you to be there. I should be calling in sick. I can't wear shoes. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, it was just the repeating of marketing. Like when you hear someone say something that's clearly not their words, it means that it's working. It means that the marketing is working, and the brainwashing is complete. Because you'll say it and sound all authoritative, but I am sure if I pressed, like, what does that even mean? I'm sure there would have been issues. I don't like to put people on the spot like that. I'm lying. This entrance of whatever this is that I'm on, every time I get on, I am side by side with a tractor trailer. I have no idea what the odds of that are. It's not like there's a constant line of tractor trailers here, but every single time I merge onto this stretch of highway, I merge right up against a tractor trailer. Every single time is a broad sweeping statement, and it's not true, but over 90% of the time, well over 90% of the time, I merged right up with a tractor trailer. Where am I? I think this is the. I think I am now on the turnpike. So we've gotten into a really bad habit, or maybe a good habit, of turning the boiler off. We have a problem with our boiler. It'll run constantly, which is really bad. It just burns through oil when it doesn't need to. It just keeps bringing the water temperature. I think it's a bad hydrostat. But now there seems to be an additional problem because all three loops. My house is broken into 3 zones off the boiler, and all 3 loops are constantly being fed. So I have no idea what's going on. I think I'm going to have to replace and rewire. Like I definitely have to replace the boiler. I mean, it's back in the 80s. The owners of the house were told by the local oil company that the boiler was too old and it needed to be replaced. In the 80s, it was too old, which means it's probably original to the house. It's around a 650,000 BTU boiler. I think it's a little higher than that. It might be like 669 or something like that. But let's just say 650,000 BTU boiler. I have no idea how efficient it is. Like I said, it's just it's a box with fire with a water tank radiator above it, like that. The blower is newer. That's attached to the front of it, but the whole rest of the mechanism is really old. The water heater is also very old, and at some point I will replace them. It's somewhere the cost to replace them, not including any of the nonsense, like if I have to do wiring, although I can't imagine that's going to be expensive, just running new thermostat wire. But anyway, the cost of the unit itself for my house is somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. I think installed. But if it's more efficient and it doesn't fire constantly, it will probably pay for itself. I got a fireplace insert for the party room, and I use that sometimes on really cold nights to help with the heating of the house. And I like it. It's going to take a really long time for it to pay for itself, because my wife's not really a big fan of me having a fire in it. But it does, once it's up and running, it really does crank out some nice warm air. I'm not entirely happy with the design because it still uses the air from the house. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I like there are designs where they actually use the venting. They pull air back down from that way. This insert is nice. It recirculates the air inside, so it's relatively smoke free when it's churning along, because it's a weird box. The fire happens at the top of the box instead of on the logs themselves. Once it's going pretty good, they glow. The embers glow, but the fire is up at the top of the box where it's being recirculated and pushed back out through the jets. So that's pretty cool. But what I'd like to do is run a conduit from the outside to the bottom of the fireplace, because it seems counterintuitive to be using the inside air grabbing it from lower in the room and it's cooler air, but it's also evacuating it out of the house, which means it's pulling cold air in from outside. That's the main drawback of just a regular fireplace, because you're most of the warmth is just rising straight up the chimney, and it's not heating up stuff like the fireplace insert. That whole thing gets hot, and then there's an electric fan that circulates air around the body of the thing. So it circulates the inside air around the body of the fireplace, which gives you that extra blast of heating, not to mention the radiant heat coming from the fireplace. But I still don't like the idea that it's being fueled from the air inside the room, because even if it's slow, which it is, like it recirculates, so it's not just like whooshing right up the chimney. Even if it's slow, it's it's eating up that inside air. I'd rather pull outside air to the box so that we're not pulling cold air into the house. Whew, it took a really long time to explain that. I'm not even sure if you know what I mean. So yeah, heating oil is expensive. So the heat's currently turned off, and it's like this week looks like it's not getting out of the 40s this week. Is everybody going to respond to his text? Jeez Louise. Okay. Oh my God. Aren't you crazy people? So my boss sent the calling out sick texts to some giant number of people. Like, it's an iPhone, so it shows all these bubbles. At least 13 bubbles there. And apparently everybody's replying with okay. You don't need to reply. I missed that sign. Where am I just like complaining about things. I don't care. What's bothering me is I have to keep looking at my phone every time it dings. I guess I don't. I'll just wait till I get to work. Resist the urge to look at my phone. No, I won't. Literally everybody's just saying okay. When I'm done driving, I'm just gonna reply, not cool, man. Not cool. The funny part is, he just got a promotion, so he is now, he's been doing the job already. He was the interim whatever, and now he's the permanent whatever. And today is literally day 2 of his tenure as the boss, and he's calling out sick. On top of which, the government is coming to work today, and me and him are to be available for any questions they have about the projects going through. So that's just a bad coincidence, very bad coincidence. So I believe we're going to be in the exact same situation we were in yesterday because I took the highway. We're in the last 2 minutes of part 2. So I know it's weird. I don't think I'm yawning because I'm tired. I have a stomach ache I've had since yesterday. I don't know if it's related to the medication. I didn't take the medication yet today. I'm going to be taking it when I get home. I think the tummy ache's making me yawn. Yeah, so anyway, same situation as yesterday. I'm making really good time, which means part 3 of this video is not going to be 20 minutes long because I'm less than 20 minutes away from work at this point. I don't know how close. Must be pretty close. Did I miss my exit yet? Not yet. Give me time, I'll miss it. The part 3 is probably going to be like 14 minutes or something like that. But whatever. Was this part 3? No, this is part 2, right? Yeah, this is part 2. Has to be. Alright, so I'm going to end this and then come right back and do the part 3. So have a wonderful day.